recording the class and sharing with you. Share application screen. Yeah. Okay. Can you guys look at this? Can you just let me know if the screen is visible?
Yes, sir. It's
Yes,
visible.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
all right. Great. Great. So we would start this conversation of design thinking with this quote from Frank Kimuro. Now, Frank Kimuro is an author. He's a design thinker himself and quite renowned in the world. And he says people ignore design that ignores people. What is he meaning when he says this?
So
Anybody?
this
Any?
means that, yeah, yes, so this means that usually people don't like things that harms them, and they don't like the products made by the designer that do not fulfill their desires.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great perception. Anybody else? Any other share?
Sir, I think people want convenience in anything. Uh,
Actually, I'm Tanisha Gupta. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just joined.
Okay.
Yes, so sorry. I didn't know we had to join at 8:45. I didn't see the message.
No problem. Okay. I'm just asking for your reflection, how you are seeing this quote. People ignore design that ignore people. What
It
is
So
was
this
may
quote?
I share?
okay.
Yeah, please.
So I think that in design, apart from creativity, we need logic as well, which can solve the functionality and the problems. So if it's not
Yeah.
doing that, solving that purpose, then there's no use of that product. So people will obviously go for something else which is solving their issue. Apart
Yes.
from the
Yeah.
aesthetics, functionality also plays a huge role in design.
Yes. 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 Definitely. Definitely. Very correct. That's a great perspective there. Yeah. Good. Uh, any more
So I think
sharing?
May
it's
I?
in simple words, people do not care about the design that does not solve their problems.
Yes, people don't. Yeah, the people don't care. So, so instead of sitting in your design studios with all the plush lighting and all the Macs and the world's best technology, it is also important that a designer has enough understanding of for whom that thing is being made.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, the last share, I think somebody was saying, and there were two people. No worries. Last share. All right. So a very simple quote is not philosophical. It is just right there that, okay, for designers, they should start looking at a design, keeping in mind that on the other side of the paradigm, there is a client or there is a consumer. There is a certain problem that is there. So if you haven't given enough effort to fulfill that, it becomes very difficult for that product to be accepted by the consumers, right? So yeah, so he's Frank Kimuro is the author of he's based in New York and is also author, and his client he works within Nike to NPR, so that is his thing. So we are going to, so this whole design thinking module has been put into these three golden circle, where the outer side is what is design thinking. So we would just get to know how different people have given their own perspective of in defining design thinking, because it's a process, it's a skill. And so that means different designers of the world or different design institutes, they have given different perspective to it. So we will know that. And then The second, as we go inside, first we peripherally learn what is it, and then we say why is it important. I mean, what kind of impact does it have on the planet, or what is it all about? And then yes, ultimately how to apply it, how to synthesize things, understanding this concept, how can someone synthesize or apply these into their current environment so that you really get it, because that is called experiential learning. And anything that gets inside experiential learning, you don't have to memorize, you don't have to remember, because it just gets inside your body. It's like this. Anybody who knows how to ride a bike, like a bicycle? Anybody here?
Yes, sir.
Or you know it?
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So all right. So so some people here know how to ride a bicycle. And riding a bicycle, it happened through your experience. Like you got onto the bicycle and then you tried to paddle and then you lost your balance and then you fall and then you again got up and again, there were people around you who were trying to protect you from hurting yourself. So, and then again, you got onto the bicycle. It might have those rear wheels to wear those extra wheels to help you not fall. And then you again tried it, and uh, in 1 second you got that balance. And once that balance was put inside you, even if you have not you have even if you have not ridden, you have not been on a bicycle for last 10 years, if you get on it, you're not going to fall, right? I mean, do you agree, the people who know riding a bicycle,
Yes,
that
sir.
even
Yeah.
you'll never forget that. It is into your system, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Now you cannot learn riding a bicycle by reading a book. कि now you get onto a bicycle, आप गिर जाएंगे, आपको चोट लगेगी, घबराइए मत, आप दोबारा बाइक पे चढ़िए, आप दोबारा पैडल मारिए, दोबारा गिर जाएंगे, घबराइए मत, दोबारा चढ़िए. Book पढ़ के नहीं हो सकता. You have to get onto the bicycle to get that balance. At the minute that balance, that synthesis, that application of that knowledge is done in real life, it gets impregnated into your psychology, and you will never forget it. Even people who lose their memory, they also, when they are put onto a bicycle, they can still have that balance. So similarly, when we when we look at we learn something and then we understand why we are learning it, and then we can apply the learned concept. It gets inside your experience. And in this module, more than what we are speaking, I think the application is more important. I think 90% is that part. So there would be there would be a lot of exercises here. So our screen time or input time would be quite less. I'm not going to take classes till 12 o'clock, because I think it's for design thinkers, it becomes a torture to look at the screen for so long. So yeah, now learning outcomes for active participants, and by active participants, I mean that you were checked into the classroom. It was not your screen was there and your name is reflecting here because we can't see you. So this whole learning will only you are responsible to get this learning, nobody else. I can't teach people who are not interested in learning. So so it's all so your active participation is very important. And we would be learning international design thinking processes. I mean, and by international I mean those accepted design thinking processes which the 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 most important companies are using those design processes. The innovators of the world are using those design processes. People who have really made a change in the world, they are using those design thinking processes. We would be learning all that. And And then we would be learning thinking techniques for thinking out of the box. I mean, most of the time, we are people have expectation that okay, now your creativity means out of the box. Then how? Okay, there are techniques to learn that. Very easily you can start thinking out of the box. So we would be discussing that too, and then implementing an application of these design thinking processes. Yeah, you have to implement, you have to apply this on your concepts, and then understanding different parameters of design thinking. Very important. Design thinking is, it doesn't exist in isolation. There are it's like a chain. So there are different components that builds up a design, builds up a design thinking process. So understanding that if you pull out a certain link from that chain, the whole chain collapses. So understanding all that. So yes, so there needs to be a lot of participation from your end. You going getting a coffee, or you have to get a good night's sleep. I know that's too much to ask from NIFT students, that you get a good night's sleep, because there are assignments and there are pressure. There are a lot of you who might not have yet come to the college. Are there people who have yet not visited your college and you're still at your
Sir.
home?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes,
Yes,
so
sir.
All right, quite that's like a quite unfortunate thing, because we all are so excited to when we get our admissions to a college that we wanted to go to, and then because of these emergencies, we are not able to attend college, and still all of you have given yourself in learning online, and for that also I want to acknowledge all of you, because it's very difficult, because it's very easy to look at YouTube for fun videos. It's very easy to browse through Netflix the whole night because it's fun. You don't have to apply your brains. You're just having fun there. But looking at screen and applying your brain is really, it can only come from people who are very, very responsible for for making their lives better, because they really want to learn. So I want to acknowledge the whole class on that. I think there was, I think 85% of students who were there at 8:45 as I requested, and then I think 95% of people were here before 9 o'clock, and somebody who joined late, um, they have also acknowledged and taken responsibility that they were not aware. They were not aware that we were supposed to join at 8:45. So those are great traits for active participating. And so the assessment, there would be a digital reflective diary. This would be, okay, I think this page is not good. Okay, we'll go to the assessment later, but I think that was the old file that got pasted there. So we are sitting in Feb, and we have started our conversation on 15th of Feb. And then your first assignment is due on 18th. That would be today, tomorrow, and day after. And then on Thursday at 11:59 p.m. I'm going to share a Google link with you, and you're going to submit all your three assignments there. So first assignment is 30 marks, and then you have the second assignment, which is due on 24th, and then you have the third assignment, which is due on 26th. No, the third assignment is in March. So in the first week of March, I'm going to tell you exact date after getting that information from Vandana. So the third assignment, we yet don't know the date, but then I'm going to announce that pretty soon. Take a screenshot of this, because this is going to help you in just looking at your timetable and what all you need to do. So there are certain classroom parameters: students to keep drawing material and sketch notes ready for spontaneously creating a sign exercise, students to carefully follow the brief and create neat design or sketch notes. I have written that in the uh, in the um, in the group that sketch notes would be your way of giving you assignments. I hope people who were aware of that post have done their research and they've understood what a sketch note is. And then sketch notes shall cover major key points and create graphics to communicate your understanding of active participation. I would be calling out students randomly to discuss their reflection and understanding of the taught concepts. Sometimes some people need to be invited to to share their reflection in a group. I might be doing that. There will be breaks for relaxation, and recorded sessions will be shared with students. Now I'm going to tell you about my instruction. You should know who are my introduction. You should know whom you're getting taught by. So my name is Gaurav Mandal. I was awarded two national awards by Government of India in 2016. I've done my master's in fashion marketing from Nottingham Trent University in 2017, and teaching and learning in higher education. That was another course that enables me to connect to people in higher study that I did from Laureate University in USA in 2016. Then yeah, I'm your very dinosaur senior from a fashion design background in 2003. And then I've showcased my collections in Italy, Singapore, Delhi. So I know how internationally and nationally fashion works. And I'm design faculty at Pearl, at NIFT, and a lot of other universities. And I'm invited by different universities to talk of different things. Then I worked with Paul Smith, CK Jeans, Calvin Klein Jeans, and Armani Exchange. So these are again international brands I've worked with. So I know how internationally design works. And then there is an Indian brand called AMPM Fashion. So I was head of department there in creative. And then I've also worked with Will's Lifestyle a long time back. So I was there as a senior designer. I think those were the initial years of my career. And then I also have a YouTube channel which is called World of Fashion with Gaurav Mandal. So which is a very strict channel, and it's only talking about design processes, and it's talking about how the world class designers, how what was the process behind their design. And so yes, so I have approximately 4,600 subscribers, then which comprises of teachers, which comprises of students, which comprises of design enthusiasts. So it's a very serious channel. Yeah, so this is what I do. And then yeah, assessment. I'm going to give you a format of assessment. And Tony Stark is going to be my muse, so you would be hearing from him on my behalf. So for submission of your three assignments, you will create a master folder in the provided Google Drive. I'm going to give you a Google Drive link, and it should be labeled as your full name. Okay, so it should have your full name, and then inside that you are going to create three folders, which will have assignment one, assignment two, and assignment three. And yeah, so you will submit assignment due on delegated deadlines respectively in these folders with your full name. And any student who is found to altercate others assignment will be penalized. So don't try to fiddle with other people work. Those things are really unacceptable, so don't do that. You guys would be penalized. And uh, you cannot send me any mail. You might be having problem in assessing the link, which usually students don't have. So far I have not heard that. But don't send me mails, because the assessment part becomes very difficult on my end to see 40 students and to keep fetching for where their assignments are. So this is how you're going to work for your assignments. Classroom parameters, again, keep your drawing material and sketchbook ready. Carefully follow the brief, and sketch notes shall cover all your sketch notes should cover all the major key points, and you will be called out randomly. This I have spoken before. Now Tony Stark is again talking about it. Then there would be enough breaks for relaxation and take screenshots. So yeah, so those kind of things you need to do. And then interaction for learning, you are free to ask questions when they are not clear. When you are not clear about questions, any concepts, you can agree or disagree with the taught concept, but don't let that disagreement stop you. A lot of time people want to ask something, and because the class is going on, they were not able to ask that question, or they were not clear with the question and they couldn't ask it. So it hooks them to that point only, and the flow of learning has happened, and then they are just hooked to a place. So if there's something of that sort has happened, just let it go, and then keep flowing with the class. The best thing is keep just ask. you know now, all the questions that direct the conversation in the domain of, I think the critical thinking, it's, I think, domain of design thinking. Let me just correct myself. Yeah, all the all the questions that are design thinking. Uh, yeah, design thinking would be will be entertained. There might be a lot of other questions which, if they are not taking our taking our conversation forward into the domain of design thinking, I might not entertain that. But that does you should not stop yourself. You don't judge yourself. That is that question taking us away or no? Then let me judge that. Okay. Maintaining classroom decorum is the best way to showcase your respect for learning. So please, whenever you have spoken, switch on your mic, and when you have stopped, switch off your mic. So I know that in this 1 year of training, all of you know this. So just be careful of that. And then this module has been planned to reduce your screen time. That means you have to use the non-screen time judiciously for your active engagement, for your reflective assignment. So there will be less time on the screen, but there should be more time otherwise, because it is your assignment that is going to finally finally establish that you have learned this or not. Were you actively participating or not? So yeah, so that way. Students have scored 100% marks also in design thinking in the past. So yes, there is. It's not that if you have fulfilled all the criterias, you can also actually get 100 out of 100. So yes, so those kind of things are possible. And your personal issues like poor internet connections, power cuts, and you should refrain from discussing that in the classroom, because then it stops other people learning experience. And yes, for that I'm going to record the session and I'm going to send it to you. So if there is any technical glitches at your end, you have to manage that. I think I will not be able to manage it. And yeah, obviously, and this is my expectation, that it is with young adults. I'm expecting that I've not gone to a school I'm teaching. I've come to a college where there are young adults who would interact with each other to share what kind of perspective they have got. So so before just putting a line on the WhatsApp that, okay, sir, I did not get it, try to call out a friend and then, discuss. And then really, if you have not got it, then you come to me. But the first thing is to connect with your friends, telling them that, okay, people who are there on this, in this group. Okay. So this is what we need to do. And then sketchnote. I'm just going to look at sketchnote, because that would be one of the major things that you need to work on. So sketchnote is basically a graphical note where we use our words. Basically, we shorten down our sentences. It is not like a paragraph which we used to do in our school. It is how our brain works. Our brain does not have like a orderly way of of collecting information. Everything is is all over the place, and our brain it tends to get that. But ever since school, everybody's conditioned to write paragraphs and work in that way. So as designers, this is a very creative way of putting together. The traditional notes are like this on the left hand side, where if you have any new idea, it becomes very difficult to insert that idea into a concept. But when you are doing on the when you are working in a sketch note, you if after 5 days, 10 days, 1 month, you have got a new idea, you can always insert that into the sketch note, because there are a lot of spaces that are there. And it does not have like a chronological order of information. Information is all there, and then you need to make sure. And like people like me who have bad handwriting, something things like these, they really make a good visual, which I can again look back to to revise it. A lot of time, because of bad handwriting, and I don't want to even look at the notes that I've made, very important notes that I don't want to see, because I just made those notes. But these are like really those analytical things that you have got by understanding a concept. So these are called sketch notes. It just represents how our mind works and how creative mind works. I think I don't know how your rooms are, but my room is like this, and when I was in college, my room was like this. Things were around, and I knew what was where. And if anybody else come visited my room, they would think that it is like a lot of chaos, but my room was this. As a creative person, every time I work on a project, everything around me becomes this. And then beautiful things come out of the visual chaos that I create. So yes, so these are sketch notes. People are more orderly, so they can create. In the sketch note, you don't need to write the whole sentences, because just one keyword would you would be able to recall the whole scene if there is one single keyword. It's like you have gone for dining out like 15 years back, and somebody says, you remember we had that dish there, where the where the waiter really messed up with our order, and it came, and you suddenly remember the whole incident. You don't need to write that, okay, we went to Connaught Place, it was 8 p.m. in the night, and then we went nobody wants to say that. We in our lives, we just work on keywords. But yeah, theoretically, we start writing big paragraphs. I don't want any one of you to write any paragraphs. Just put your things in a start using graphics to just talk 1,000 words in a single graphic. I mean, that is start including that. So yeah, so these are some examples of that. And then understanding design thinking. The first of all,
Sir, sorry to
is that
interrupt. Can
yeah,
I ask a question?
yeah,
Sir, are we allowed to make these digitally?
yeah. Anyway,
Okay, okay.
yeah. Anyway. So is because the new digital formats, you're actually using a screen and you're writing on it. So it's just that for so long we have been taking a book and we are writing things into it, and a lot of people feel quite that they feel a freedom to write, and their creative minds, they explode with ideas when they're writing. And if you are comfortable in doing that, or if you are comfortable in sitting on screen and working on your pad and with your pencil, that is also great. But if you are trying to make things in, let's say, PowerPoint, on Photoshop, where you're not letting your reflection, and by reflection I mean, what is your perspective? I thought something, but then it landed on you, and your brain intercepted it differently. So that is called your reflection, and that can only come in when you are very spontaneous, when you are working on your sketch note. So yeah, some of you have never worked on sketch note. their initial sketch notes would be not as good as you want them to be. So you might want to redo that for submission. But the whole idea is that by the time this module ends, you also have mastered making sketch notes, or it has become like part of your daily routine of how to take notes. So yeah, so those kind of things. But you can do it. You can do it, virtually, or you can do it through softwares. Yeah.
Okay,
So
sir.
yeah. So let's look at, but be very spontaneous even when you're using a pad or a pen. Don't become too. I mean, you become person who can take risk, creative risk, and that can only happen when you are drawing things, because that conditioning is too long. I mean, when people want to even write, a new write a novel or anything, they tend to write things so that they are there is this brain and hand coordination which has been given to us in conditioning long back. So it's very difficult to go out. So yeah, you can do that, your wish. So the first case study, let's look at the first case study. And the first case study is about Doug Dietz. Now he's an industrial designer working for um, General, what is GE? I forgot the full form of GE Healthcare. And so GE Healthcare, since more than 30 years, this guy is working there. He's Doug Dietz, 30 years he's working. And this guy, he's an award-winning guy. He has designed one of the most sophisticated, magnetic resonance machines, which is MRI and CT and X-rays and ultrasounds. Like, he's really the guy. If you want to meet him, you have to wait for 2 years, because very, very important guy in industry, and really given people some beautiful products, humanity, beautiful products that can really that works sophisticatedly, and that really brings in uh, the best results, the best reports. So he's the guy behind this. He's also a recipient of International Edison Innovation Award. So big guy, very, very big guy. So once he visited one of the hospitals, and he saw suddenly, because most of the time when people are busy, they are just inside the studio and they're working on the project, and they're just doing that, right? So once he visited one hospital, and he saw one girl crying. So we're going to see, so I'm going to put a video of Doug Dietz, where in his TED talk, he's talking about the experience that he got when he just randomly walked into a hospital and he saw that the experience that he got, which was actually really a career defining moment for him, and that happened after 20 years of his working. So I'm going to play that video here, but I'm also going to put the 4 video links that I'm going to play while we are discussing in the chat box. If anybody has any problem in receiving the transmission, please use that link to understand. Okay, so I'm just going to wait. I'm going to put all the links in the. Yeah, so this is so these are 4 videos. I'm going to play video number 1. I have put 4 videos in the chat box. So anybody who is facing problem in the video from the class, they can use the link. Yeah, so I'm going back to my yeah. So let's see the kind of thing that that Doug Dietz he experienced, and how it became like a career defining moment for him. So this was his experience of how people are experiencing his product. A lot of time we create a product and we don't want the feedback. If we get a bad feedback, we feel so bad about that person that that person is partial or they don't know what I wanted to say. But this was the first time he saw that. So let's see.
So I had just finished designing this big MR scanner, and I was very proud. I think I had worked on this thing for probably about 2 years, and I'm an industrial designer, and I was doing the enclosures and the controls and displays and the coils and patient transfer, that kind of stuff. And I was so excited to see this the first product that we installed. So I went to see it in its actual environment in the hospital. So I was just running through this hospital to check out my new product that I had just finished. I'm really excited. And I kind of almost like barged in, took my wallet and all the metal stuff out of my pockets, and ran in and was, with my baby, I was just a proud papa, basically. And so I remember the technologist coming in and saying, we have a patient that's going to be coming through. So could you step out for a little bit? I said, sure, no problem. I'll come back in. We can talk later. And I remember walking out and I was standing in the hallway, and this is kind of what I saw down the hallway. I saw this young family coming down the hallway, and I was just standing in the hallway, and they're coming toward me. I can tell as they get closer, the little girl is weeping. And as they even get closer to me, I notice the father just leans down and just goes, remember, we've talked about this. You can be brave. And they turn to walk into the MR suite, and I kind of follow them in. And I still remember it like it was today, guys. I'm standing behind a little girl. She's probably about 7. And I'm looking into this environment that I was just standing in. I was just in there in this environment, just, doing my happy dance, right? And she just freezes. And I'm looking at her angle and just seeing in that same environment where I was just standing, I realized that this is something totally different. On the wall is that, horrible warning sticker, it's got the magnet and the big exclamation point. It's got that yellow and black tape, like on the thing, like, almost like a accident scene. Everything looks really kind of like beige. It's got this kind of weird colored flooring and, just kind of everything's bleached out. And then the room itself is kind of dark, and it kind of has those flickering fluorescent lights. And the machine itself that I designed basically looked like a brick with a hole in it. And then, of course, an MRI for you folks that have had one, it is just a terrible noise. So the little girl just starts to really cry. I mean, she's just breaking down. And I can tell you guys, I'm standing behind and I see these parents. And for you guys that are parents, they're looking at each other. And they don't have to say a word because they don't know how they're going to get their child through this. So I had just finished designing.
So what did you learn? What was the experience that this guy got when he in this TED talk? What is the experience he's speaking about? Guys, are you there? I'm asking.
They
Practicality of the design is just
Yeah.
a part of it. The aesthetics do matter. And, I think the aesthetics have an entire different effect on people. Like they have the power to make the practicality seem better. I don't know how else to put it.
Yes. Okay. So that's your reflection. Yes. And yeah. So you're saying practicality over aesthetics?
I think both are equally important.
I personally think both are equally important. Yeah. But in this sharing, just what did you see? I mean, what is he speaking about?
So he got a much more honest feedback of something he created.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because when you encounter a problem firsthand, you see what direct effect it has on people.
Yes.
You are much more open to more designs. You're much more open to more variations of how things could be approached. So I think
Yes.
he got a much more open, like an eye-opening experience of how people perceive his creation.
Okay. But what is he speaking about? What is his experience? क्या किया क्या वहां जाके क्या देखा उसने?
So
Just
he
say
said
what.
that the little girl is actually scared of that machine.
Yes. Little girl is scared of the machine.
So
Parents
because
don't know what to do. क्या करें?
yes, sir.
Huh?
So
Yeah.
actually,
I don't know if this falls under the umbrella of the subject, but actually, my dad is a radiologist and he used to have GE machines.
Yes.
And my first experience with an MRI was exactly the same. I cried like a little girl and I didn't want to sit in that machine because it was very scary. Till date, I'm scared of sitting in an MRI.
Yeah, and
So,
even adults, they feel, it's a strange kind of feeling. I mean, when you are inside it, I know people around me. I come from family of doctors, and the biggest, even the military people, they go and they are, the armed forces. Even these guys, they are, they feel very bad when they are getting inside a MRI. Yeah, somebody else wanted to speak because I can't see your screen. I can only see this guy here. So if anybody has anybody written something in the text box, so then come somebody read that on my behalf, because I think I heard. Okay, so this was the observation. Now the point is, he as a designer, he's making MRI machines. He is making it more sophisticated. He's really making it, putting it more nuances into it, so that the reports that are the most important. Because why are you even getting inside a MRI machine? Because they are really wanting to check that everything is okay with your brain, and it itself requires so much of technology. So it really really requires that every time it gives out a report, it is the correct one. It should not be that after 10,000 reports, the the next report that came out, it was faulty. Because if the diagnosis of somebody is not correct, the whole I think the whole treatment is really going to be um, the one that you really required. So diagnosis itself is such a big thing, and this guy is making it, given his life to create more sophisticated scanners, and he's been awarded for that, and he's been, he's the head of department for so long, for 20 years. He's just head of department of a place, and that company is selling a lot of product. There are no complaints that have come from any radiologist that, okay, your machine is giving faulty reports, nothing. So for him, there was a feedback, but those feedback were all good. It was by luck that he saw that his machines, it was a very bad experience for kids to enter his machine, which earlier he never knew. He was just concentrating and investing his whole being into creating a more sophisticated machine. And yes, it's not also about aesthetics. It is more about technology when he's making those machines, and why people would prefer to buy a GE machine rather than other competitors. On those fronts, he was really delivering. So in a way, his design process was quite correct in that sense. So so only when he visited and he saw that, what kind of nightmares kids are having when they get inside a magnetic resonance, imaging machine. That is the time he got really sad that, this is what people experience. Okay, it gives you a great report, but this is what they experience. So for him, now it became a challenge, because he himself is a father of kids, and he got that, no, it cannot be, because that scan is very important, and the kid doesn't want to go in. So if they are not diagnosing that kid, it impacts that person health. And if they are going in, it is a nightmare. So he wanted to work on that experience, and yeah, so he wanted to make a kid friendly machine. So and then he, finally used one design thinking method and designed a child friendly machine that got him an international award too. And then finally he did something, and he adopted a new design thinking method, and he created a machine and which got him more international awards. So we are going to talk about that after we look at the next case study. So the next, I'm going to put. Yeah, somebody has switched on their mic. Okay, okay. So I'm going to talk about the next case study now, and I'm going to put a little video, and this is video 2 in that link. So if you're not able to see that video here, you can switch on and just tell me, seeing that video, why have I have put this video here?
Really disappointed. Oh my god! I know.
Yeah. So why do you think I put this video for the second case study? Any
So it
reflection
shows
to that?
that
Yeah.
people can have all sorts of reactions to the same thing. What might make one happy and give joy might just make the other cry.
Yeah, yes. So that is one reflection.
Uh,
Yes.
because nature and like humans
Sir,
go hand in hand. It's something like everyone
Oh,
lives in a harmony.
yes, yes, yeah. One lives in
sir,
harmony.
maybe about interaction because when they interact, they are more happy about the product.
Oh, yeah, maybe about the interaction. Yes. Yeah, next one.
Yeah, yes, sir. So what
Maybe
I
it
learned
has
from
nothing to. Yeah, please speak.
Yeah, maybe it's nothing. बोल देना अभी खत्म करो बात. हाँ.
Maybe it has nothing to do with design.
Yeah, maybe it has nothing to do with design. Yes.
So
Hmm.
yeah, so what I learned from this video is that children are very expressive and they don't even think once before expressing their emotions, and they
Yeah.
are very energetic, and they always show their emotions at any
Yeah.
point of time.
CV. Yeah. So kids are very interactive, and they're quite enterprising, and they interact with people. Yeah, with things. What more?
So it shows us that when you know about, like, you're a kid and you know nothing about anything, you're curious about everything. And that
Oh
makes you
yeah,
happy. So
yeah.
it shows us curiosity of things.
Curiosity. Yeah, curiosity, and also it is a very happy video, isn't it? You will see very healthy kids around in a great environment, in a great landscape. People are happy, kid is happy, and it's a very happy video. So I just wanted to put that, maybe at every home, when there is a kid, when you were born, it was the first thing that made everybody happy was that you were a healthy kid, and you could enjoy things around, and you survived. So this this video was formed in contrary to the second case study that we want to do, where every year some 30 lakh babies die within 28 days of their birth. Okay, we have seen the happy side of it, and we always see in ads, and a Cerelac ad, on a Huggies ad, we see beautiful healthy kids around, and we think the world is really a great place for a young infant, but it is not. Like every year 30 lakh, like 3 million people die, and infants die within 28 days. And in developing nations, I think in the developed nations there are still they have been able to conquer this speed, but in developing nations like ours, people do naming ceremony after 6 or 9 months. Have you heard that After 6 months, they do the naming.
Yeah,
Have
yes,
you?
so.
Because
Oh,
it's,
so
yeah, it's not that the guys, the parents can't think of a name for 6 months. It's just that they don't know if they will survive or not. So you don't know the kind of problems or the kind of concern parents have till the time a baby is a certain age, because they don't know this person will survive or not. So, and we can't even discuss about the what goes on with a mother. How does she feel that that crying thing that she had, that smiling thing that she had in her hand is being snatched away. So, and this is really have been accepted as a reality um, in cultures. That's why they have created rituals around an infant, that it's not the next day, it's not the next to next day, but it's like after so many days, that and you're not sure your kid is going to survive or not. You waited for 9 years, 9 months, and then you've gone through that whole labor, and then you don't know the kid is going to survive or not. So it's a very, very sad situation, which is also uh, quite there in on this planet. And even if everybody has accepted that, developing nations, the cultures have accepted that, and if any kid dies, they don't even put a lot of I mean, they know that it would have happened. So it is like accepted truth that these guys have, the cultures are in developing nations have accepted. But one young designer did not accept this. One young designer, she thought this is not acceptable. I mean, the kind of pain that is inflicted on the family and on the mother especially. This is, I mean, this break down a person completely. So this she did not accept. She said, no, I'm not going to accept this. So her name is Mary Jane, and she's Jane Chain. Yeah, her name is Jane Chain, and she's from Stanford University, and she's a designer. She's not God, she's not a divine person on this planet, but she's a designer. And she said, I am going to put my soul into it, but I'm going to change this. I'm not going to accept this. So this global epidemic. So in this next video of Jane Chain in her TED Talk, she discusses how she identified the problem. So so there is a video 3 in the chat box. If you want to see that, you can see. Or if the video you are able to see here, please see that. So this is her TED Talk.
My journey at Embrace started with 2 questions. The first was a question I had while I was a graduate school student at Stanford taking a class on public health. I wondered, we had a class on infant mortality, and I wondered why infant mortality was considered a development indicator. When I asked my professor this question, he answered, because it's a social mirror. I was puzzled. I wasn't sure I knew exactly what he meant by this. The second question someone asked me as I was moving to India to do this work. She was skeptical, and she asked, so many babies in these countries die. Do mothers even care, or is it an accepted, everyday part of life? I came to discover the answer to both of these questions soon after I moved to India, and after I began to meet the countless women who had lost their babies. I'd like to share one of their stories with you today.
ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆಯಿಂದ ಹೀಗೆ ಒಂದು 15 ದಿನ ಹಾಲು ಕುಡಿಲಿಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಿಂಗಾಗುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಊಟ ಫುಲ್ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಕಣ್ಣೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಚ್ಚೋಯ್ತು, ಕಣ್ಣೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಚ್ಚೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಅದೇ ನನಗೆ ನಾನು ತಡೆಯಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಆ ಟೈಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ತಡೆಯಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಹೋಗಿ 1 ನಿಮಿಷ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಹತ್ತು ಬಿಡೋದು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಹತ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ನಾನು. ಪ್ರತಿ ಮಗುನು ನೋಡಿ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಮುದ್ದಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಬೇರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನೋಡೋದು ನನಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ನಾಗ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ನಾಗ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತಾಳೆ ನಂತರ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಆಗೋದು ಬೇಡ.
Unfortunately, Chandu is not alone. Every year around the world, 3 million babies die within the first 28 days of their life. That's 6 babies every minute. Most of these deaths are forgotten about for the most part, except for by mothers. This is the absolute worst tragedy a mother could endure. There's no more helpless of a feeling than watching your child die. And yet, in many of these communities, not only do mothers lose their children, they are blamed for these deaths. I now know that a mother, no matter how poor, no matter how impoverished, no matter how uneducated, will go to any length to save her baby. If there are this many babies still dying, there's something deeply wrong with the solutions and the systems that exist today, including a lack of technologies that empower these mothers to save their children. One of the biggest problems these babies face is staying warm. They're unable to regulate their own body temperature. That is the primary function of a baby incubator. But incubators cost up to $20,000. They require a constant supply of electricity, and they require a trained doctor or a nurse to operate. In a country like India, where there's one doctor for every 2,000 patients, this poses a huge challenge.
I hope you got what she felt. What was the problem in her in Jen video? Can anybody share? What did you see? I'm asking. Can anybody share? What did you see in that video?
So she identified a problem that she resonated with in the sense that she wanted to work for, and to take it up further, she wanted to start by gaining first-hand experience. So she tried
Yes.
talking to people who might have gone through something like this to gain more perspective on it. So I think that's what this video talks about, that basic starting of a process to tackle the problem.
Yeah. Of course, and this video also talks about then when a certain problem like this is so prevalent in the world, and she went to her professor, and professor said, okay, it is like a social mirror. This is what is happening in a developing country, and this is like you have just passed the dice instead of really working on that problem. You have just said, okay, this is what happens in a developing country, and if nobody has worked on this problem so far, as if there is no solution to it. And Jane Change, she went there in India and understand that she does not know Indian language, right? And to understand the kind of problem these guys are going through, to first of all analyze that why kids are dying, to first of all, we can always blame the government that there are no hospitals here. We can always blame the government that there are no electricity here, or bad roads, and no doctors want to come in a remote village. And obviously, in urban areas, they are able to save children, but not in remote villages. So we can always blame somebody else. But these people, they, instead of blaming, that like Doug Dates can always blame the parents कि अपने बच्चों को why don't they make their kids more courageous, or why don't they this, and you can always blame. But these two people, they took on the challenge that, okay, whatever is the status quo, I want to change it, right? And as designers, they have great powers to change the way the world operate. One designer happened to us. I really worship Steve Jobs on that account. The kind of designs he gave to the world, the world has actually transformed in the way they work. Now no kid wants to play with a toy. For so many thousand years, kids wanted toys, and then suddenly now there is a iPad or there is a tab that they want and they are very happy with it. They don't want to eat, they don't want to, I mean, they are fully engaged with that moving thing. You don't want to, stop somewhere to ask directions. It is there in your phone. And in 2007, when this guy said, I don't want buttons on my phone, and suddenly a new industry, the behavior of people changed. Before that, people were memorizing numbers, and people nobody would have ever used that small phone as a computer because the screen was so small. And this guy came in and he changed the way a phone can be used and how it can protect you. How can it inform your phone can inform your doctor that you have got a sudden fall, and you might be having some emergency, or so all those technology got developed because some designer thought that they have to think differently. So they believe, these designers, they believe that they have the power, superhuman power, to look at a problem, and not blame it to others, but let's look at how to get a solution to it. So both of them had great challenges, because for Doug, how to create a thing that is kid friendly, then you don't want to compromise on the technology. You don't want to compromise, and then you don't have people who can operate a new kind of machine. Then you have to invest so much in creating a new machine and all those stuff. And for of course for Jane, saving kids, saving infants, it is really a divine effort that would actually change the whole scene. So Doug needs what Doug the first question what so Doug came back and he said, oh, I need to work on this, I want to work on this kid friendly machine. He tried a lot because he had a certain way of working, and he really tried working on a solution, and then but he could not. And then he went to, and after working for so long, and you're like head of department of the world most prominent company, and you come back and you say, no, I have to go to college to learn design thinking. And yes, because he was really committed to get his desired fulfilled, he went back to Stanford. So the D school stands for the design school that Stanford had, and Jane Chain is anyway from Stanford. So there he learned the first design thinking tool, which is called a non-linear design thinking process, which have these 5 components or 5 aspects, where the first one is empathize. So this is called the non-linear design process. The first thing is called empathize. And uh, empathize, and then you define that, okay, this is the problem that I have, because now he has a new challenge, that he has to make his machine more kid friendly. And then you will, of course, after you have devised your question, then you will start ideating that what needs to be done. Then when you have reached out to a certain conclusion, then you need to create a prototype, that, okay, does it work or not. And then you need to test it. And then in testing, if it is still not working, then you might have to go back to your question, or you might have to again prototype it. And then again you will test it till the time it doesn't give you the right outcome. So this is called a non-linear. So it can start from any place, but all these 5 components should be working. So without the testing, if I take away the testing part, then to the design, whatever has come out, it's not foolproof. So you have to keep testing it. And then if you have not defined, so you have empathized, you have gone somewhere and you have empathized about the problem, but you really have not defined it properly, then how would you ideate? So if I take away the define, the whole process is not foolproof. If I take away test, or if I take away prototype, if you not done a prototype and you have only doing sketches and you think, oh, you have created which is out of the world, no, you have to create a prototype. You have to put it across to people so that they can learn things and they can give you feedback that okay, where all which things are working and which things are not working. So this is called a non-linear design thinking process. So his early process, whatever process he was doing, that he knew that what he was making, so he had defined his problem. He could ideate because he knew the technology, he knew what works best and what does not, all those things he was doing. And then prototypes, they had a R&D center where there was enough money invested into the R&D by GE, so he could make prototype, he could test it, and then again do uh, all the corrections in the prototype and then again make it. So all those things he was doing. So there was one I said texting it, it's actually testing it. So I think testing it. So what, which component you think was missing from his design process? I'm asking you, which component you think was missing from his design process?
So empathize.
Yes, empathize. So he was in his studio and he's making things, and he's getting a feedback from hospital, and he's getting all the awards. So obviously he did not know till the time he didn't invest himself with kids. He did not see that some kids were crying. And then of course he would have asked other hospitals also, and everybody said, yeah, kids are damn scared. I mean, nobody wants to get in. It is such a huge task for parents. और सिर्फ kids की बात नहीं है. Parents को अगर बता देते ना डॉक्टर that okay, your kid needs to get a MRI, वो उनके हाथ पैर ठंडे हो जाते हैं तभी, because they don't know how will they put that kid into that MRI machine. It's like taking your kid for a small kid for an interview for their school admission, like a nursery admission. You don't know how they would respond in front of the principal or the correct. And this is like an MRI machine. So even parents, it used to really pressurize parents. So the first time he got that whole scene, he from his design process, a new thing added, that was empathizing. Like empathizing means the ability to imagine how other person is feeling. It's not sympathy that you feel oh kitna bura hua wo bacha ro. No, you have just the ability that okay, how that person might be feeling going inside, and how you can understand their mood, or what are the feelings that they're having right now. So instead of blaming a kid, saying that okay, you're not courageous enough, don't be so sissy, it's just a MRI machine, people can go in and come, whatever. Instead of blaming the kid, you first time you just empathize that okay, this is what kids go through, right? So empathy was missing, and he added empathy. And the minute he added empathy, and frankly speaking, for 20 years when you're working on a certain routine, you don't know that one component was actually not there. For that only, when he went there, he saw that okay, design process is all same, only one thing is missing, and that is empathy. So he started observing young children at a daycare center, that okay, how kids are so how so engaged, how they are running around, they're playing with colors, they are making things, you know people are telling them stories, all those things. He started, took a work sabbatical, and he started looking at it. So you need to empathize more, and that can only happen when you look at somebody's world. So he had to go out. You can't just read books to know how a kid world is. They started, you subscribe 5 books, and in your studio you're reading. No, you have to go and check how are these things happening. He started doing that. He talked to child life specialist, that okay, how are kids, what is their psychology, what do pediatric patients went through, all these pediatric doctors, child specialists, that okay, what kind of things, and they will even give him further information. So his research about a kid world started. Without that, it was very difficult for him to create a machine. Then he reached out for help from local children museum, doctors and staff from 2 hospitals. So then he went around and wherever kids were very very what do you say interested in discovering, as somebody said, kids are very curious. He started talking to them, and he went out of his comfort zone. He went out of his studio, and he started looking at this perspective from a different person's point of view. So he started getting engaged with people who were with the kids, and he started looking, observing them. So class 2 refractive, what do you think, what kind of things he would have done to the MRI machine so that it becomes more kids friendly? I can have 3 shares.
So they started using earphones because MRIs are very loud when you enter. So they
Yeah.
use earphones and they put it on their ears and they just play any music track so the child is more distracted towards the music and don't pay
Yes, yes,
attention to the machine.
yes. So earphones, yes, yeah. So that is one possibility of making it more kid friendly. What more?
So they use it now.
How they use it now? Okay, I
Yes,
got that.
so like at my dad's office we do that.
Hmm.
So, can I?
Yeah, yeah,
So
please.
maybe they add like colors and different like something like colors, shapes, or some
Yeah,
visual things like cartoons, etc., which like distracts the entire like huge intimidating MRI machine to like a more playful thing.
yeah, yeah. So that is also one way that you change the whole visual of the MRI machine. That the kids start looking at it as a fun place to go, and that can be also done by changing and adding shapes and cartoons or stuff. Yes, that is also a way.
So there was another change. Earlier in the MRI machines, it used to have a top of the machine which would come really close to your body. So
Hmm.
kind of imagine it like a sandwich and you were sandwiched between it.
Yeah.
But then that infrastructure was changed for this round figure so that people aren't intimidated by the machine anymore.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
can I add a
Yeah.
point? I don't I don't like instead of isolating the changes just to the MRI machine, maybe make the entire space more friendly. You mentioned something about how the room is very beige in the video. So
Yeah.
instead of having the MRI room for children look absolutely bland and very, empty and just hollow. So the
Yeah.
space will be improved instead of the machine.
Yeah, even the whole space. Yes. So that went into the ideation part. So once you understand that, okay, the definition of problem is correct, you want to make a kid friendly, a child friendly MRI machine. So your definition of problem is just correct now. And you needed empathy, which this guy got. And then he started ideating that what can be done with all the research and finding he got. He started looking into what can be done, and so that part is called ideation. And then he created the adventure series. So out of all his conversations and everything, he started looking at MRI machines differently. Now the new scanner room has music, as somebody said. You put those headphones or the new, and the kid-friendly, the rooms. They have music inside. They have adventurous narratives. There is how you go into a like Apu Ghar or some place where there are, you are going through a tunnel, and there are narratives going on. And even doctors played a role. Even doctors were trained that whenever a kid comes, you have to you have to create that whole thing. You don't make don't make the whole thing very serious, as these are not young adults. And this was created. So somebody said that the whole place was so there is a checks box, and then there are these things. It's like a shipwreck story. There is adventure stories being going. So a kid sees this thing and goes inside, and they are really curious that okay, what is going in, and maybe their experience of getting inside this, you tell him that okay, there is a play game we are playing, and you have to be inside and you have to protect us, or whatever narrative. So there were different narratives that were created, and it was not just the machine exterior, it was also the room, it was also the staff, whoever was dealing with this. Now this is very important, that when you have done a prototype, then you test it, and then people say okay, kids are yet, yeah, there are still kids who are not endorsing the whole idea. Then you again, that okay, what new thing can be done, and then you talk to the staff, that okay, maybe the staff also need to be part of this whole experience, and then you talk to this, and so this, you start, you make a prototype, and then you test it, and then from that testing you get a idea of updating it. It's like all your phones, whatever you are having, they are just after testing, you use it for a certain time, and then people get feedback that okay, the camera needs to be better, people are doing selfies, so we need a bokeh effect, or a depth of field effect when people are taking pictures, so portrait mode and whatever. So there is a prototype already there, and they're just testing it, and then again updating it. It's like they will say update your app. So if there are any bugs or any fixes, they are trying to create it. It's not that you have created something at the end of the game. The process of innovation, the process of improvement will go on ever, forever. It will never stop. So the testing, and till the time a product becomes 100% efficient in terms of aesthetic or in terms of functionality, till that time that that oscillation will keep happening. So this was our so this is something that the kids are getting, and of course the whole idea of that whole, so there are new covers that are coming in that you can put on your already existing machine. So you're not painting the machine, but you're creating covers so that you can put it on the MRI machine. So because MRI machine, it's a very expensive merchandise. So you need to work on that. So empathize was something that was not there in his thing, and the minute the empathize came in, he got new fuel to work on new ideas, so that he can create a new prototype. So empathize is anyway one of the most important. It's like the foundation stone for any design thinking method, because you are creating something to provide a solution. So maybe aesthetic solution or maybe a functional solution, but you are on the other end. There is a person who's going to experience it. So till the time you don't empathize with that person, I don't know what you're creating. And then even if you might not empathize with someone, but then it is like a shot in the dark, that okay, you just did, and some people related to that. Now Jane Chain was a person who was there who has studied in Stanford, and she knew about this whole empathy part, and she knew about ideation, she knew about all this. But there was something that was uh, uh, she was aware, but there was one aspect or one component that was missing from her process. So which component you think was missing from her process as a designer?
She should consider like developing countries, the budget, and like how will it reach such a mass of people?
Yeah.
Prototype.
Prototype was missing. Yeah, all that. So what part? More sharing, because now you're applying your learned concepts. Yeah, so what do you think might be uh, missing from her process? Okay, so for her process, what happened? What happened was, Jane Train, she traveled to India and she was enough empathy. She knew she was seeing these people. She was meeting mothers, and even if she did not know their language, but she could feel the kind of pain mother was going through. The way they were also blamed. The mothers were blamed by the culture, by people around them. And anyway, somebody is grieving, and people come around and they even blame them. So it would be like a hell thing for any pregnant woman there, that girls would be so scared of getting pregnant, because if the kid die again, they have to bear the loss, and also people are going to blame her for that. And in this remote areas, what kind of rituals they have. So she was not able to define a problem for the kids. Now, she understood that kids were dying, but she did not know how to define like a problem where she can actually work, create a feasible design. For example, she went there, she understood, okay, ये तो empathy तो हो गया. Now I have to define a problem. Now, there were so many problems which are working in hand. There are distant hospitals. Urban area में तो बच्चे बच जा रहे हैं, but here the hospitals are so far away, the roads are so bad. People are uneducated, they don't want to learn anything new. Government is ignoring these remote villages. यहाँ पे तो वोट नहीं है, कितनी सारी चीजों की वजह से गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट डूइंग एनी डेवलपमेंट देयर. Unhygienic surroundings हो सकते हैं. Then malnutrition, under nutrition kids, they come out because the mothers are malnutrition. They also don't have enough nutrition food. Then bad roads. It's very difficult to take a mother who is in labor, a girl who's in labor, to a distance hospital. So no electricity. So there are so many things that would come to her, because even if she identified there was baby incubators that can save a kid, but there is no electricity. How would you even import, or how would you even request government to send things? So all those things, there were multiple challenges. And any designer sitting there will say, okay, I can't create hospitals here. I can't work for the roads. I can't start feeding all the mothers here. I can't. So because there are so many places where things are just outside your periphery of working. So for her, she's not able to get that. Since there were so many areas, so many components, she could not define the thing, that okay, where is it that I need to work, where I can create a crucial design which can actually make a change in the whole thing. So she started, for her, defining the problem was difficult, because there are so many things that she couldn't work on. So obviously she started reading books about early childhood, about infants, and methods to save infants. A lot of things. It was not just the empathy, but her own research. Because people around them were uneducated. They never thought of that, okay, there is any update in technology, or say something they can do to save a kid. Instead, they were just driven by their prehistoric rituals, that okay, if a kid die, you blame the mother, and if the kid survives, you name that person after some time. So they were just driven by the traditional rituals that they had. So the in her research, she found that infants are kept in baby incubators for initial days to protect them. So this is something that she got to know. But now there is no electricity. The challenge was that the price of baby incubator is $20,000, which is 15 lakh. How many baby incubator you will send to how many villages, right? And then there is no electricity. So even if you start putting those solar things and stuff, you know, you need trained staff. Now these things, you think that this kind of thing, you need trained staff. The villagers can't work on it. That means you again have to call doctors, you have to make mandatory for doctors to serve there. So there were a lot of things. Okay. So and then baby incubator. So she understood, while defining her problem, she understood that baby incubator does what? Baby incubator just does one thing: to regulate the baby's temperature. So what happens when we all regulate our temperature? You know, when there is summer, our skin is going to sweat so that it maintains its body temperature. When it's cold, we wear a lot of things, or we shiver to produce heat so that our body temperature is regulated. But small kids, they can't do. And to give them that whole regulated area, you have to build up one incubator. But the incubator itself needs so many things to even, you know, it's expensive, it's, you know, trained staff, electricity, and so many things was required. So she defined her problem first. After doing all that thing, that okay, I can't build roads, I can't do this, she defined a problem that to design a cheaper incubator which is not, you know, electricity driven. So this became her first defining of your problem. So first you defined your problem, and then, you know, then you got a headway to even ideate. For this, where will you ideate? You can't ideate. You know, you can't ideate that okay, how to build roads or how to get people here. So she defined that, and she started ideating. And once she defined her challenge, she had the opportunity to ideate and, you know, make a prototype and even test it. So first time that whole opportunity got open. And then, you know, so this non-electric cheap baby incubator, in this whole design process, Jane had enough empathy. The emphasis on the design problem, you know, defining the design problem, that was difficult. So once she got it, you know, she had to ideate that okay, nobody so far thought of, you know, creating something which was cheap and which did not require electricity and which could be done by any person. You know, nobody had that thought of that. So she started using, you know, critical thinking, where we challenge assumptions, things that people have been following certain assumptions that has been bestowed on us by our ancestors. You know, she started challenging them, and then, you know, started looking for okay, can there be an alternative material, can there be another way, can I use solar panels, can I use this, can I use that, you know, so many you know, new materials you have to find and everything, you know. But you are into a process now, you are into a process of creating something which is going to change the course of humanity. So yeah, and then, you know, then you want to test, because it is about an infant who's so delicate. It is about their lives. So you know, testing becomes so important that no mother is going to give their infant ki acha bhai isko use kar lo, and, you know, test your new prototype. So there were a lot of challenges, but yeah, at least there was a headway to move on. So after she defined the thing, so I'm going to put the next video, how she designed the new baby incubator that saved millions of infants till date. So that would be your video 4. You can see that in the chat, from the chat box, or you can just look at the presentation.
My team and I at Embrace have been working on a low-cost way to tackle this problem. What we've come up with is the Embrace Warmer, which looks like a little sleeping bag for a baby. The core technology is a pouch of a wax-like substance, a phase change material, that when melted maintains a constant temperature of 37 degrees Celsius for up to 8 hours at a stretch. You can heat this either with a short burst of electricity or with boiling water, and you can reuse this over and over again. The product is portable, it complements existing practices like skin-to-skin care, and it's been designed to be easy enough for a mother to use. Looks simple, but this has gone through hundreds of iterations over the years as we've tested and retested to make sure that it's locally appropriate. What I've come to discover in this process, however, is that technology itself is only part of the solution. In order for technology to be effective, there must be intent. Technology will only multiply that intent. No one has the intent to save a baby more than a mother. And yet few, if any, solutions in this space are designed for those with the greatest intent. In fact, when Embrace first started, we created a version of the product that could be used by doctors and nurses in a clinical setting. We wanted to introduce the product into a safer environment with trained caregivers. What we found out later, as we trained doctors, nurses, and mothers, was that it was the mothers who performed best in our training assessments. It was the mothers who were uneducated and illiterate who paid the most attention, who retained the most information. With a technology designed with this intent, the Embrace Warmer is now saving lives around the world. This is Shiva Madama. She comes from a small village in South India. She and her family are all farmers. This is her mother and her grandmother behind her. She gave birth to a 3.5-pound baby that was kept in the device. And this was a baby a few months later when we went to visit. He was at a healthy weight, and the mood in the house was festive as the family was deciding what to name the baby in the 9-month naming ceremony. And although it was a joyous occasion, it was also a stark reminder to us that in India, many babies aren't named until they hit 9 months because it's so common they'll die before then.
Okay, so what did you learn out of this video? I mean, what do you want to share?
Concept is deprived from a sleeping bag also that you mainly use, like it's portable and it's very comfortable to use.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Boiling water. I mean, boiling water that can save life, and it was absolutely invisible to people, right? And somebody took that intention, somebody was intentional in making that, and then the inspiration of the saving product might be there, right there in your door, in your house, but it would be quite invisible till the time we are not there. How did you feel when you saw that one designer could save millions of babies? How did you feel as designers? Because fortunately, you all have taken that responsibility now, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So it was
You,
empowering that you have that kind of brain and resources to do something like this.
true.
Also,
Any?
sir, if I may say, it is a very good example of how she has aligned her intent with impact. So,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
like even the inspiration that she has, all of that, she knows her intent, she knows her impact. So, like it just there's a lot of focus that is cleared in the process.
Yes. Yes. And she said that there's a lot of iteration. That whole process has gone. It's not that
Yes.
the first time you created and you're like, oh, voila, I'm the king of the world. No,
Yes.
you're not happy with the product till the time it saves the last baby on this planet. You're not happy. You're in a constant journey to improvise it, and you're using all the education that you got from a design school where the professors who are teaching, they might not be using it, but you used it. तभी तो फायदा हुआ ना उस पूरे डिजाइन थिंकिंग को सीखने का. Otherwise it would be just inside your head as a concept. Then you wouldn't have made any difference to the world. This girl did that, and there's so many
So
designers. Yeah, pardon me.
sorry
हाँ
to
बोलो.
interrupt, but
Yeah,
actually
बोलो.
this concept was taken further. I don't know which of the either came first, but
Mhm.
this wax nowadays these come in thermal packs and this wax is put inside and there's a coin. So the moment you break the coin in half, it will crystallize and produce heat.
Oh wow. Oh wow. So yeah, so there is innovation going on, right? So see, somebody from you can take this, and instead where there are places where there is no water, तो कैसे गर्म करोगे उसको? You might put solar installation on it, some solar plates, अफ्रीका में तो पानी नहीं है, वहां पर भी बच्चे मर रहे हैं। अब वहां पे शायद ये इट डजंट वर्क, so what would you do? You might put like a solar cells in it. हो सकता है ना? There can be a possibility of making a solar packed thing, because Africa में तो बहुत sun होता है. We can do that, right? I'm just saying, I mean, as a possibility to work on this material, and as a possibility to work on this material, you can also create things for elderly people, because they also feel very cold during winters, isn't they? Don't they? They feel very cold, right? I'm asking the
Yes, sir.
class.
Yes,
Huh?
sir.
Yes, sir.
So as a designer, if you are intentional or in providing, let's say, comfort to your grandparents or something, you might just come across this, and suddenly it was so invisible for so many people. You see this as one of the prototype which can be improvised or can be reiterated to make something for older people. It can happen, right? And you can, if let's say you have come to Delhi but your people are back there in hills, you make something and you send it to them because they're in hills and they feel very cold. So so many things can happen when there is an application of design thinking process. So these were two challenges which, first of all, even identify that challenge, you need empathy. If you don't have empathy, then you would go on in your studio, you will research on books, you would see, internet, and a lot of things will come to your head. But to really even define a problem, you need to have empathy. And when you have empathy, then the world of creation opens, and that is when you start defining a problem, and then you start ideating a problem, and this ideation might not just happen within your head. You might have to call someone. You might have to call your sibling who's studying in a law college, or who's studying in a engineering college, or you might have to call a friend who's there in US who is working on something, that okay, I want to combine these two things. Because this girl, she has not studied in those material classes. She's a design student, but to ideate properly, there is this whole collaborative effort that has gone, where she's calling people and where she is trying to create a certain product. So yeah, so this is the non-linear design thinking process, which is the first part, the first method, international method that a lot of people are using to create products which earlier, uh, you know, uh, kind of overlooked what people really wanted. And as designers, some of you who are absolutely new to go to a creative college, I think you should draw this non-linear design thinking process and stick it on your walls, because now this would be your life. You would be known for this, you would be recognized for this, you would be paid for this. You would so the quicker it gets into your routine, it's great that way. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes break. Okay, so we are going to meet at 5 minutes to 11, and I'm only going to have a 5 minutes class that time. So, and after that I'm going to set you free for your assignment. So meet me at 5 minutes to 11. Okay, and come back with, if you have any sharing, we can do that. Okay. Yeah. All right. So now we are going to discuss the third. I think a lot of people are not here. I don't know where she's gone. Uh, okay, so we are starting the class. Okay, so before the break, we discussed, the whole narrative of Jane Ching and Don Doug Ditz, and how they used non-linear design thinking process to compile a desired object that initially was quite challenging. And just by working on a defined design methodology, they were able to achieve that. So so now the third, we are going to look at another part of design thinking methodology, the case study 3, which would be which is about this young boy, 2000 in 2015, I think 21/5, I think it's the wrong date. 2015, one young designer graduating in his graduating year used non-linear design thinking process for creating his graduation collection. So this guy thought, I'm going to use this international design methodology to work on this. And he became the first and ever Indian to win the coveted James Maguire Award. The prize money was $50,000, and which he further invested in his company that he formed after he graduated from Pearl Academy. So, this guy, when he was creating, he was thinking about his range. So a lot of time, the design students, they think of, creating glamorous thing and really state of the art finishes and all that. But this guy thought that, glamorous or not, my design should have meaning. It should have, it should be based on proper research on, it should be empathy based. It should help people. So he started doing that. So I'm not going to take you through his story. That is your homework, where students have to see the following video link. There is a video link that I'm going to put on the WhatsApp group so that you guys see it after the class inputs are done today. And you have to make a sketch note where you are documenting your observation about how this whole narrative went with regards to how this person used non-linear design thinking process. So this is I'm going to put this. You can also type on YouTube Asaj Mom by Perlite Karthik Verma. If you put that, you're going to get a video, and you have to just go through the whole narrative to understand how this person was able to use non-linear design thinking methodology. Okay, so these are the three assignments for today. This is assignment 1, activity 1, activity 2, and activity 3. I think the activity 3 needs to be put as activity 3. So there are basically 3 sketch notes that you need to create, and these all would be assessed. So the first is, observation of Doug Ditt's narrative with regards to nonlinear design thinking process in a sketch note format. So you have to document that. You also have to document Jane Jane narrative with regards to the nonlinear design thinking process she used. And the third one is, of course, Karthik Verma's. So there are these 3 assignments that you guys need to work on, and this is what it is. So that is all for day 1, and I'm going to stop my input here. If anybody has any questions, you can ask me so that we can conclude the class for today. Any questions?
Sir, do the sketch notes have any particular formatting,
No,
like a size limit or anything? Is it
no,
fine if
no,
I do it
no.
on an A5 sheet?
No. You can use a full chart. I mean, it all depends on a designer. I just need a PDF file. That means you click it and you put it into that, and you put that into the folder, the Google link folder. And I've not given you the first activity is not finished yet. These are just 3 activities for assignment 1. Assignment 1 is not yet finished. Okay, so there is no deadline right now. But if you are going to work on this, you'll get enough time to work towards getting like a full score. Yeah.
And sir, I think there are two Ishita bands in this class. So how do you want us to make different changes?
Yes, sir. I noticed that too.
I couldn't hear. Sir, tell me.
So there are two Ishita Jains in this class. So
Okay.
there are folders. How do you want us to?
Okay, so okay, there are 2 Ishita Jains. Okay. Ishita, how do you want to create that difference? Either
Sir,
you
our
want to
batches are different, so we could do that.
We can
that's
mention our
just
batches
the
and
batch.
that's all right.
Just your name and your batch. Yes. So that will differentiate.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So
Excuse me,
research
sir.
on sketch notes, before making a sketch note, research on sketch note, there is no format. It is just that it's a visual document where, on one page we get to see everything that's happening. Yeah. But just make it cleaner for submission. You can practice few and just make it slightly cleaner for submission so that people who are assessing you, they can just see it and understand what you were trying to do. Yeah.
So could you please just check if I'm marked present because I came after the attendance?
Okay, I'll do that. Anything else?
No, thank you, sir.
All right, all right. Bye.
Same,
Bye. So
sir.
I'll.
Sir, I
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye. 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 Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.